Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so let us get started. Um, I hope all of you are keeping safe, and I know these are interesting circumstances, and um, I hope everything gets back to normal soon. So let us get started and dive in real quick. What we are going to be doing today is we are going to be talking about what are the different things that you can do with Virtual Robotics Toolkit. For all of you who are new to this, Virtual Robotics Toolkit is a simulator for Lego Mindstorms. It is an educational robotics software that can help you teach coding through robots. It uses Lego Mindstorms programming environment to code the robot, and alternatively, you can also use MakeCode for EV3 for coding your robot. MakeCode for EV3 has JavaScript and Blockly as programming languages. So in total, you can use 3 programming languages to code. A couple of other things to note is that if you have Mac Mojave or Mac Catalina, VRT is going to be fine working on it, but Lego Mindstorm CV3 is not supported Catalina onwards, so you will have to use MakeCode for EV3. Towards the end of the session, I'll be able to show you how to use that. Um, Another couple of things to note is that if you are using the YouTube tutorials, you might notice that there is an old interface that they show there. So I'll be showing you today how to get to that interface. Let me just quickly see what this chat question is, and then we'll move ahead. Perfect. I'm so glad everyone from around the world is joining us today. Okay, so let's get started. Um, Before getting started, make sure you install Virtual Robotics Toolkit, you install Lego Mindstorms programming environment. Those are basically the tools you need if you are only wanting to program your virtual robot. However, if you would like to build a robot as well in a 3D CAD modeling tool and import it to Virtual Robotics Toolkit, then make sure you install Lego Mindstorms programming environment, Virtual Robotics Toolkit, Lego Digital Designer or Studio or MLCAD or LDCAD, any kind of 3D CAD modeling tool, and most importantly, LDRAW. All this information is in our YouTube tutorials. There was an email that was sent this week that has all, actually last week on the weekend, that has all this information as well. However, if you do not know what I'm talking about, contact support@cognition.com and they'll be able to help you with it, or send me a message here and I'll be able to help you towards the end of the session as well. So make sure you have Lego Mindstorms, Virtual Robotics Toolkit, Lego Digital Designer, and LDRAW in order to use Virtual Robotics Toolkit to its full capacity. Now, when you click the Virtual Robotics Toolkit icon, the interface that you see on the screen right here, make it a little smaller. The interface that you see on the screen right here, this left-hand screen, this right-hand screen, and at the bottom Lego programming environment, this is going to open up automatically by just clicking the VRT icon. So the left screen here is the simulation environment. The right screen here is the learning environment. And the bottom screen here is the programming environment. Let's talk about them one by one. I am very confident that most of you are familiar with Lego Mindstorms programming environment. This is an icon-based language that is used to code Lego Mindstorms robot. This is the exact same language that you use to code and the same environment that you use to code a physical Lego robot. And this is what you're going to code the virtual robot as well. Then on the top right side is the learning environment. Now, a lot of you have been asking questions. I do not have a login ID and password to begin. You do not need a login ID and password in here if you do not have one. You can get started just by hovering on the top and you will see this toolbar. You click here, it shows you the projects that are available and you get started. Now, what is this area? This area is for you to get access to some of the free resources and some of the paid resources that are a part of Virtual Robotics Toolkit. However, some of you might have seen that we provided login ID and password in the past. At that time, we did not have this Microsoft plugin. We had our in-house plugin that we used to use, but there's something new that's coming up. We are working on virtual competitions, and because of that, we had to create this unified login that will give you access to the virtual competition as well as to the course. However, if you are not a part of any paid courses, then you will have to enter your own Microsoft email ID and password. Once you enter that email ID and password, it will say you are not registered to any learning environment. Then you'll have to contact support@cognition.com and we will be able to provide you access to the free resources. Now, this sounds too long, and I know it is such a long process to get access to the resources. Therefore, because these are free resources, they are very freely available on the web. So all you need to do is type virtualroboticstoolkit.com, and then go to the youtube.com/virtualrobotics, go to the playlist, and that is the resource that you'll get access to from here. But if you are really keen on seeing the YouTube tutorials from this window, then make sure to contact us and we will provide you access to that through this window. However, if you just are comfortable opening it from a browser and would not rather want to see it from here, then as I said, like, it's YouTube tutorials and it's our documentation page. All this information is also sent on Saturday. Again, if you do not have access, if you did not receive that, shoot us an email at support@cognition.com or message me here and I'll be able to share that with you. Um, so that's why I do not necessarily like working in this environment. On top of the screen, you see this toolbar. I always like to work in this two-window environment where the simulation is at the top and the programming environment is at the bottom, and then just like get going. That window, just know, I'm repeating it again, I know, but I've been getting a lot of messages about it. That window does not stop you from working with Virtual Robotics Toolkit. That is only to get access to the free resources, which you do not actually need access to from that window unless you really like to. You can open them from your web browser and you're good to go. So in order to work with this simulation environment, so in other words, to get started, you click on this button. It shows you all the projects that are available in Virtual Robotics Toolkit. And then you click on one project and get started. So as you can see, there's lots of projects in here. Sim Basics tab has like all this list of projects. Um, all these projects like build on one another. So this is a getting started project wherein you're learning all the sensors and stuff. So it's considered as a basic project. And then the next one is apartment cleanup, where you're using ultrasonic sensor to clean the apartment using your vacuum cleaner. Like you have a robot vacuum cleaner. You all know Roomba, like, so the same concept. And then in the maze challenge, you program your robot to follow the black line. In robotics, the first thing that you have to learn is line following, because that is how your robot moves. So you're learning color sensor in here. Then you have learned ultrasonic sensor, color sensor. You move to the cleanup challenge, wherein you're using both your sensors to push this Lego tower in the center of the mat, off the mat in the best possible amount of time. You have to make sure that your robot does not fall off the mat. So you're using color sensor for edge detection. And then you're using ultrasonic sensor to detect the distance between the robot and the tower so you can push it off the mats. Similar thing in sumo challenge as well, wherein you're programming your robot to push the other robot off the mat. You're using color sensor and ultrasonic sensor. And then there's soccer here as well. Now, the next tab is the competitions tab. I will have to mute. Sorry about that. I just need everyone to mute their microphones so everyone else can listen or hear. Then there is first Lego League mat. First Lego League, we have all the challenges from 2016 simulated. We actually had all the ones from 2015, but we removed 2015 because no one was using it. Same thing from WRO. We have all the challenges all the way from 2015 all the way till 2020. Remove 2015 from here, so you'll see 2016. Then there is this competitions tab. Now this is a little surprise that we have for you. Keep your eyes open for your emails and our social media accounts. You'll be posting when this is available. In other words, you'll be able to compete virtually with anyone around the world using the challenges that you see in Virtual Robotics Toolkit. So we'll update you once this capability becomes available. So let's get started. Let's open this Sandbox project. So I just clicked on it, then it asked me for a name. I'm not going to rename it. Clicked on OK. Then it's asking me if I want to start from scratch or want to resume my old challenge. I'm going to start from scratch. And it's going to open my project. It's going to take a couple of moments to do that. Yes, this is being recorded. I was smart today than I was yesterday. So I recorded this session. I'll be able to share it with everyone after the call. So our project is all open. As I said, this is a getting started project. As you can see, there are different colored areas on each edge of the mat, and there are different Lego blocks that are scattered on the mat. Then there are 3 black lines. So the idea is that in this project, you kind of get the kids, get your students, and if you're yourself a student, get yourself accustomed to the software. So if you hover on top again, if you press the start button and use WASD keys, you can actually move your robot around. So A left, D right, your robot, like it can move. So this is like a way to kind of test your surroundings and environment and kind of see like what's out there, right? Like you can actually take your robot for a spin and you can like push the blocks and just see like how it all works, right? So all I'm doing is using WASD keys from the keyboard. Now, once I'm done, I can stop the simulation and that brings my robot to its initial position. And a lot of you can appreciate how neat this feature is, because if I have a Lego tower and if I'm doing an exercise in my class, I have to stack that Lego tower again and again. However, in a virtual environment, I can just like bring everything back to its initial position by just pressing a button, right? So it's way easier for me to work virtually than it is physically. I mean, physical has its pros as well, but just this feature I really like. Um, so make sure every time you want to move your robot around, you start the simulation by pressing the play button and then you stop your simulation. Now the next button is the attachment dialog. Now each project comes with its own pre-built robot, but something that is not what we want. We want to add attachments to it. We want to customize it. Sometimes we actually want to create it from scratch. So all these capabilities I just talked about are present in Virtual Robotics Toolkit. However, in this simple mode that has like this simple toolbar with only few options, you only have the capability to customize your robot, not build it. So if I click on this attachment dialog, it will show me all the list of attachments that are present in this project to add to my robot. Now this list of attachments varies from project to project depending on what is the requirement in each project. So in this project, as I said, because it's a getting started project, we added all the sensors in here. So I can add gyro sensor, I can add color sensor, I can add touch sensor, left position is taken, so I'll choose the right position. I can add ultrasonic sensor, and then I'll also add a lifter. So now I have all the attachments humanly possible on my robot for that I will need for at least for this project. Once that is ready, I can click on OK, and you can see my robot is all ready with all the attachments mounted on it. And now it brings me to my next part, which is data logging. Now I have sensors. I would like to see how my robot behaves, right? I can also, after I've added my attachments, I can press this play button and I can move my robot around using WSD keys to see how my robot behaves. And I mean, it really works well, right? Like it's still moving around. And then I press my stop button to bring my robot back to its initial position. Now back to data logging. There are two ways of data logging when you are in the simple mode. The first one is through the port view, and the second one is through the Lego MySums programming environment. So let's bring this a little bit up. So let's look at the word first through the port view. So I have my virtual brick. I forgot to mention that every time you open a project, this virtual brick is going to pop up and it's going to be by default turned on. As you can see, the interface is exactly the same like the physical brick. You actually work with it and the menu options exactly the same way as the physical brick. I'm just clicking on this button using my mouse to navigate from one bar to another. And this is because we use the same firmware as the physical robot, and that's why you get such an authentic experience with the physical robot. Now, if I click the center button, I'll be able to see my port view right here. You can see like the sensor data coming out, and you can actually see it like real time working on your robot, how the value changes, right? Um, Now I can also see the data coming out of my motors as well. So as I'm moving, like you can see that data updating. So that is one way of seeing it. Another way is through this window right here that will only appear after I connect my virtual brick to my Lego MySums programming environment. And then you can see all the data coming from here as well. So the data will be in the same units as it is in the physical robot. So it was super easy for you to use. Now, again, I want to bring my robot back to its initial position. So I'm going to press my stop button. So now you know how to add attachments. You know how to see the data. Then if your EV3 brick for some reason, you cancel it and it disappears, you can click on it and bring it back. So this is the bringing the virtual brick back option. Then the next of the options are the display options. So you can change the display. I just showed you by default, you get this 3-window display, right? And if you would not like to access any resources from here, you can go back to the 2-window option, which I said is my favorite. If you want to only work with VRT, you can click on this option and it's going to expand VRT to maximum. If you want to work with only the learning environment, you can click on here and it's going to expand that to the maximum. If you want to work with the EV3 environment, it's going to bring the programming environment to the maximum. So what I did here is I wrote a simple program to move my robot straight for 3 rotations and then turn it left. What I'm going to do is I've already connected my EV3 virtual brick to my Mindstorms programming environment using simulated Wi-Fi connection. Unlike the physical robot where I have USB, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi to connect my Mindstorms programming to my physical robot, in virtual robot, I only have one option, which is connecting it using a simulated Wi-Fi connection. It's not a real internet connection. And I can run this code in my virtual robot by all the methods that are possible in physical robot. So in physical robot, I can download the code and run the code from the virtual brick or from physical brick. I can download and run the code. I can download the selected part of the code, or I can run the code from here. All of that you can do here too. I personally like download and run, so I'm going to just use that. So you heard the code got downloaded. My robot is going to move straight, and then it's going to be turning left, exactly how I wanted it to. Exactly what I wanted to do, right? So you can write as complex a code as you want here. You can create your subroutines. You can use more advanced capability data operations, any kind of sensors as you like, and you will see like it will work quite accurately and very closely mirror the behavior of a physical robot. You can try out different projects if you like also. Now that brings me to the second part of my presentation, which is showing you how the advanced mode works in case you would like to import your robot or you would like to create your map. So before I do that, any questions so far? If there are any questions, feel free to type them in the chat window and I'll be able to answer them. Okay, moving ahead. The next part is that, as I said, like a lot of you who have worked with Virtual Robotics Toolkit in the past would be like, oh, what is this interface like? I've never seen this before. So this is a new UI that we developed and, this is a simple mode for users who only want to come in, customize their robot and code, who do not want to, get overwhelmed with like lots of menu options that exist in Virtual Robotics Toolkit. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but Virtual Robotics Toolkit was an industrial simulator when it began back in 2007, and we used to develop industrial simulators, and that why like it was a generic simulator that could that could integrate any robotic simulation. So we developed simulators for elderberry. Now we developed simulators for military packbot in Singapore, and that's how this simulator came about actually. That's why like the advanced mode had a lot of options from back in the day, and we wanted to create something that was basic for someone who just wants to code and doesn't want to be bothered by anything else. However, that doesn't mean that we still do not have all that capability still in place. So in order to navigate from simple mode, which is this, to advanced mode, which is the older VRT mode, you have to press function F12. So if you have a function button on your keyboard, function F12 or just F12, and it's going to bring you back to your old mode or the advanced mode, in which it will provide you with a list of things that you can do in this mode which you cannot do it in simple mode. Now know that sometimes what could happen is even if you're pressing function F12, it's not going to bring you back to the advanced mode. That is because maybe the EV3 Mindstorms programming environment is highlighted. You have to make sure that you have this window highlighted before you start pressing function F12 or try to use any of the capability in here. Now, in order to go back from advanced mode to simple mode, you can either use this drop down here or you can use function F12 again. So it will bring you back. So pressing function F12, it's just going to toggle back and forth. Now, let's talk about some of the things that we can do in this advanced mode. So in this advanced mode, you can build and import your own robot. So you have to build your robot in a 3D CAD modeling tool. As I said, there is Lego Digital Designer, there is Studio from Bricklink, there is LDCAD, there is MOCAD. I've seen a lot of people starting to use Studio quite a bit. So that could be a good option for you to use too. The newsletter that we sent out on Saturday had an updated link for Lego Digital Designer because I know Lego took away the support for Lego Digital Designer, and 4.3.12 version doesn't work as well. So we fixed the 4.3.11 version, and that's what we sent out again. If you did not receive that email, make sure to send an email to support@cognition.com and we'll be able to help you. Now, in addition to build and import, there's one you can also data log in another way. So you saw data logging, two methods of data logging. There's another third method which provides you very detailed data, and I'll be showing that to you as well. Then there's object manipulation. So you can change the position of the robot. You can move any of the objects on the mats. You can change the physics properties of any of the um, stuff that is in the environment. So you can do object manipulation in this mode as well that you cannot do in the other mode. Then you can also work with measurement utility, which is actually not working right now. We are working on fixing that. And then the last thing that you can do in this mode that you cannot in simple mode is you can work with mission manager. So what mission manager does is that if you are working with an FLL mat, like how there are 13, 14 mission models, right? But you would want to work with only, let's say, um, one mission model. So you can select which mission model you would like to work with, and it will make all the other ones disappear, which will make the like the project a little bit faster, because it's quite a computational heavy, because there are so many models in there that are physics enabled. And then for WRO, what this mission manager does, it lets you randomize different pieces. So you know how for WRO you can be presented with any combination of pieces on the mat. So this option lets you do that. And there are video tutorials on our YouTube page regarding all these options that I'm just talking about. So now let's talk about the real-time data logging. So the more advanced data logging feature that is in the advanced mode. So if I start the simulation, and if I open this real-time data window, you'll be able to see all kinds of data that will be presented here. That is in addition to what you will see in Port View and Lego Mindstorms programming environment. So it gives you like way more stuff in here. So if I program my robot to move 3 rotations, you will see the rotation count is going to be updated in here too. So stuff like this you can use for coding, right? And then so that is one thing I want to talk about. And the next thing is I would like to show you how to import your own robot. So if I would like to import my own robot, I have to make sure that I have the 3D CAD modeling tool. So let's actually go to my Lego Digital Designer. I'm using Lego Digital Designer in this case, and I've created a very simple robot that has a color sensor attached to it, just 2 motors, very simple. Now, couple of things to note in Lego Digital Designer that result in creation of models that might not work in Virtual Robotics Toolkit is that sometimes people just use like Lego Digital Designer tab and they start like creating robots from like all the pieces that Lego has. But Virtual Robotics Toolkit has only the Mindstorms pieces simulated in it. So make sure to work in the Mindstorms tab and not in the Lego Digital Designer tab. So that is one. Another one to note is that, now it's going to make me open it. Another thing to note is that make sure to filter brick by boxes. So I really like it because when you're working in real life, you're working with certain set of bricks, right? Or certain box. So it really helps if you filter bricks by boxes, that you're not creating with something that that is not even feasible. So you start working with something here. And then once you are done with your project, you can start on exporting the model and then importing it in the simulator. Couple of things about Lego Digital Designer. We have a whole video playlist of how to work with Lego Digital Designer. If that is of interest, you can go to sorry, youtube.com/virtual robotics and then go to playlist, and you'll be able to see that whole playlist, and you can follow along and learn how to work here. So now once you're comfortable with your model, you can click on File, you can export model. Now, no matter which CAD tool you are in, just know that LDRAW is a file format that is accepted in Virtual Robotics Toolkit. So I'm going to save this file in LDRAW file format. I'm just going to do it on desktop and then hit save. I already have it saved, so it's not letting me do that. Then I'm going to go to Virtual Robotics Toolkit. I'm going to delete this robot from here just to clear some real estate, and just because I would like for my new robot to have all the space, but you can have as many robots as you like. You will notice the more robots you have, the more EV3 bricks you will see scattered in your project. So in order to delete this, I just clicked on it and selected it and then press delete button. So you see how my EV3 brick disappeared as well. Now I'm just going to click on this import robot button, and I'm going to go to my desktop where I saved my robot in LDR file format, and I'm going to click on it. Just quickly want to see one question I was asked. Yeah, you can use EV3, like any set for EV3 for sure. So it's going to take me through an import wizard in which what it's going to do is it's going to take the 3D CAD file and it's going to assign physics to each and every model component. So here it had presented me with a list of pieces that my robot is made up of. I can rename it if I like. Some of you might see that there are some stray parts that might appear in here that you might want to merge to the immovable part of the robot. There is a YouTube tutorial on that as well. But if you appear to have any questions, just feel free to write us at support@cognition.com and we'll be able to help you. Then in this part, we have to assign ports to motors, ports to sensors. So I always like to rename my motor. So you can see how when I selected it, right motor got highlighted. So I'm just going to name it as right. And then I'm going to rename this as left. And then I'm going to assign ports. So I'm going to assign port B to my left motor and port C to my right motor and then port 1 to my color sensor. So what this step is doing is taking care of the cables that you connect from ports to motors and ports to sensors. You do not have to do that when you're working with a virtual robot. So let's click next. In this mode, it's asking me to tell the robot what is the front of the robot. So I'm going to do it using this arrow key. And then I have to assign keyboard controls to my robot. So you notice that when we had our default robot in the mat, I could just move it using WASD keys. I have to be able to do it using my imported robot as well, just because I want to make sure that it's working fine before I start coding it. So right motor is highlighted. I'm going to assign right wheel WASD keys to it. If you want, you can use arrow key option or game controller option. I'm just going to use WASD. Same thing for left motor, left wheel WASD, and then hit finish. Once this is done, you will see the finish button highlighted. Now, if you miss this step of assigning keyboard controls to your robot, you can also always do it afterwards. I'll quickly show that to you as well. Once this is done, we'll hit finish and you'll see my robot is all ready. I'll start the simulation. I can move it around using WASD keys. So that is perfect. For an imported robot, the brick is not turned on. So you have to press the center button to turn it on. Then I can connect it and then I can download and run my code and just see it's going to work exactly the same as my pre-built robot did. Move straight and then turn left. Now, a couple of other things. If you forgot to assign keyboard controls, you can go to device, device controls, click on your robot or select your robot and you can assign controls here. So I can use up key, down key, left key, right key, and then save. And then now when I start, oh, my trick is just in my way. If I start right now, WSD key is now working. Up, down, left, right arrow keys are working. So that is something that you can work with. Now, another thing that I would like to show you is that how to navigate to MakeCode environment. So if you press function F8 from your keyboard, it's going to maximize VRT. Make sure you are in the simple mode and then you select the 3-windowed button and it's going to open MakeCode at the bottom. I again like to work into Windows mode, so I'm going to come back to it. So function F8, then it's going to maximize VRT. Make sure that you are in the simple mode. Just know all the display options exist in the simple mode. So any changes to the display, you will have to make sure that you are in the simple mode to do it. Again, function F12 to come back to the simple mode or just using the menu option on the top right corner. And then I just press this 3-windowed button. It brought this MakeCode environment at the bottom. In order to start a new project, I'm just going to click on this button. It's going to ask me for a name. I'm just going to give it a name quickly. And then it's going to open my project. I can write a code in Blockly and see it in JavaScript. Alternatively, write a code in JavaScript and see it in Blockly. So let's write a very simple code again to move my robot straight for 3 rotations. So let's use the steer motors button, and then let's put it right here. So I'm just dragging and dropping, nothing else. Let's move it for 3 rotations. In order to run it, I'm just going to press this play button. You'll see we'll move my robot for 3 rotations straight. And then I need to stop my simulation. I can see my code, how it looks in JavaScript as well. Okay, so this is all for me today. We showed you how to work with the simple mode, advanced mode, how to go back from one mode to another, how to open MakeCode, how to import your own robot, how to code your robot, um, and a couple of other little things. So if you have any questions, we have 5 minutes left. Please feel free to ask me in the chat window and I'll be able to answer them. Alternatively, just like unmute yourself and ask that question one at a time. So I saw someone raise their hand, so feel free to ask that question, please. Hi, Daniel, you can ask your question if you raised your hand to ask a question. Yeah, so in order to run MakeCode, press function F12. So let's function F12. Once you press function F12, it's going to maximize VRT to the full mode, and then make sure to press this 3-windowed button and MakeCode is going to open up. There is, actually I can just share this file here that will show you how to do that. It's going to give you step-by-step instructions, and they were also attached to the newsletter that we sent out. So just follow these instructions and it will make total sense.